Okay. 12th and 14th.
Yes, sir.
A projectile is fired at a speed u at an angle theta, with the horizontal. Its speed when the direction of motion makes an angle alpha with the horizontal. So you have to find speed at this moment when it is making an angle alpha with the horizontal, right?
Yes, sir.
So let's say this is the point. It's making alpha with the horizontal. You don't know the speed right now. And you know initial was u and theta, right? So it's a very conceptual basic question only. You just have to realize that in projectile motion, x motion, right, is constant velocity, right? There is zero acceleration, right?
Yeah.
So what is the x component of the speed at this moment? It was
V
u
cos
cos
theta.
u.
Yeah.
And what is the x component of speed here? X component of speed here is v.
V cos alpha.
Both should be equal, right?
Yeah.
Therefore, v is equal to u cos theta by cos alpha, which is equal to u cos theta sec alpha. So basically, you have found out your v, right?
Yeah.
In terms of u, theta, and alpha, right?
Yeah.
So that was this one. Then question number 14. 1 second. You understood, no? This one.
Yeah, I did. I think I just couldn't imagine the alpha positioning, where to get the angle alpha.
So any point of its motion, any point of the motion, the particle is moving along the tangent, right?
Yeah.
So your tangent is like this. So he said that it makes angle alpha with the horizontal. So draw a horizontal there. Draw a horizontal there. There are parallel lines which is parallel to the base, right?
Yeah.
So once you draw a horizontal, you can mark the angle alpha.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. 14th one shows 4 paths for a kicked football. The effect of air and all is ignored. Rank the paths according to initial horizontal velocity component. Highest first. Okay. Shows 4 paths. Okay. Is the answer not 4? D.
It is D. I just didn't understand how.
Okay. Okay. So we have 4 paths for football, which is kicked. One is this. One is this. One is this. And one is further ahead like this. Right?
Yeah.
Now notice that in all 4 cases, he has ensured that your vertical height is same, no?
Yeah.
Vertical height is same. So what does that mean for us? That means basically that if vertical height is same, then that means all of them were going up with the same vertical component, right?
Yeah.
Because your vertical component must be same for your heights to be same, no?
Yeah.
So vertical component of velocity in each case, if you write, right? So v cos theta 1, v1, v2 cos theta 2, cos I'm writing it a sine, right? v1 sine theta 1, all of those are same, no?
Yeah.
You have this equation, v1 sine theta 1 is equal to v2 sine theta 2 is equal to v2 3 sine theta 3 is equal to v4 sine theta 4, right?
Yeah.
Correct. And from the figure, it is known that 1 was this, 2 was this, 3 was this, 4 was this, right?
Yeah.
So R4 is greater than R3 is greater than R2 is greater than R1, right?
Yeah.
And range formula would have been V4 square sine theta 2 sine theta 1 4 cos theta 4 by G, right?
Yeah.
Greater than 2 V3 square sine theta 3 cos theta 3 by G, right?
Yeah.
Is greater than 2 V2 square sine theta 2 cos theta 2 by G is greater than 2 V1 square sine theta 1 cos theta 1 by G, right?
Yeah.
Great. So G2, everything, all of that is cancelled in these inequalities. And what you can say is V4 sine theta 4 multiplied by V4 cos theta 4, right?
Yeah.
And everything you can split like that, everyone, right?
Yeah.
Similarly split everything, right? But what is known, V4 sine theta 4 is equal to V3 sine theta, all of them are equal, right?
Yeah.
So those equal parts you can cancel,
We got
right?
the horizontal components.
And horizontal components are following that same order, no?
Yeah, understand.
So basically it's about just noticing what is given in the question. Range is bigger. In general, I didn't think of all this when I said the answer, right? What I
Yeah.
thought was range is bigger. Obviously, it should have much higher horizontal to reach that point, right?
Yeah.
If it is same height, if all of them are attaining the same height, then how is it reaching so far? Its horizontal should be bigger, right?
Yes.
1 second, just hold on. There is a call. You send the next questions.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah, sorry. Okay. You have sent a few. Okay, one second. Which one in this picture? Next picture.
I numbered them, I think 8th in order.
Okay. A particle is launched, that one, no?
Yeah.
Okay, a particle is launched from the origin with this initial velocity under the influence of constant acceleration this much. Position and velocity vector when it reaches a maximum x coordinate. Okay. When it reaches its maximum x coordinate. Okay, so let's write our initial velocity vector as u is equal to 3 I cap, and your acceleration vector is constant, that is minus I minus half j cap. Okay. Now, because of this and this, your displacement, right? Displacement vector will be equal to ut plus half at square, right?
Yeah.
ut plus half a t square, right? And displacement actually means u final minus u, right? Displacement will be final position minus current position. Like it will be, you can call it like r final minus r initial, right?
Yeah.
Correct. So basically your r final will become r initial plus u t plus half a t square, right?
Yeah.
And r initial is simply 3 I cap, 3 I cap plus ut will be basically 3t I cap, right? Plus half a will be minus I minus 2j minus I minus 2j t square, right? So
I didn't understand one thing.
what?
The initial displacement. Why is it 3I? Isn't that the initial velocity?
Oh wait, I'm making a mistake. Sorry. That is wrong. Yeah. Initial displacement was what? Initial position or origin. So then
Origin.
there is nothing to do there, right?
Yeah.
This is initial velocity. Yeah. So I meant r initial. Okay. So r initial was 0. So
Yeah.
it is just ut plus half at square. So 3ti plus this thing, right?
Yeah.
So r final is coming out to be, collect the I terms together. So 3t minus t square by 2 I cap and minus t square by 4 j cap, right?
Yeah.
So this is your position of the particle at time t, right?
Yeah.
Now it is a very straightforward question because he's asking when does, so you have to find position and velocity when it reaches its maximum x coordinate, right?
Yeah.
So maximum x coordinate means we have to maximize this part, right?
Yeah.
So 3t minus t square by 2, let's maximize. So differentiate. So it will be 3 minus 2t by 2. So is equal to 0, right? So
Yeah.
t should be 3 seconds. At that time, your x coordinate will be 9 minus 9 by 2. So 4.5, right?
Yeah.
And t is equal to 3 seconds. This will be 4.5 I minus, this will be 9 by 4. 9 by 4 is 2.25 j, right? So
Yeah.
basically, this is your r at that moment. What is your velocity vector? Velocity vector is differentiation of this, right? So it
Yeah.
will be 3 minus t, because 2t by 2, 3 minus t I cap minus 2t by 4. So t by 2 j cap, right?
Yeah.
And at 3 seconds, your velocity vector will become 0 I cap minus 3 by 2 j cap. So minus 1.5, right?
Yeah. Got it.
So once you check the answers, it should be this only.
Yeah. I will. Just a second.
R will be the D option and velocity vector is minus 1.5. So AD.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the answer.
So don't get scared if there are vectors here. Vectors here, all of these basic equations are vector equations actually, right?
Yeah.
ut plus half a t square. The first equation, this is also a vector equation. The third equation is also a vector equation. It's actually v dot v is equal to u dot u plus 2a dot s. That's why this becomes v square u square 2as, right? So
Yeah.
all of these can be written in terms of vectors. If you have vectors, split them into components. Once you split into components, everything is easy after that. And one thing to note here is that this S vector is actually final position minus initial position. It's not some distance or anything, right? It's position vector, right? So you can write it as RF minus RI is equal to UT plus half AT square. So in case he did not start from the origin, no, the question would have been slightly different. You would have written RF as RI plus UT plus half AT square, right?
Yeah.
So your R final would have been dependent on the initial origin point, right?
Yeah.
But that would only change a little bit the constant value. It would not affect the differentiation and all, right? In this question.
Yeah.
In this question, we had to maximize the X coordinate. So I just differentiated and found the time. And after that, it was easy, right?
Yeah.
Okay. The next one is this one. In this one, which ones? 1 and 3?
No, question 2.
Okay. Question 2. A ball is projected on a smooth inclined plane. Okay. Now, this angle is given to be 37 degrees. Okay. Projected on a smooth inclined plane in a direction perpendicular to the line of greatest slope. Projected, that is weird. Direction perpendicular to the line of greatest slope with velocity of 8 meters per second. So I'm assuming the greatest slope is this 37-degree line like this. You are projected like this, 8 meters per second. That is given in the figure, okay?
Yeah.
So you are projected like this and find its speed after 1 second. Speed after 1 second. Okay. Okay. Smooth, it is a smooth plane. So notice that it's actually a situation like this, okay? And this side, there is an extended plane, right? And this is 37 degree, right?
Yeah.
And you are sending it on this plane like this 37, this perpendicular to this line, okay? In the plane, correct?
Yeah.
Are you understanding the situation? It's
Yeah,
like
from
a
the sideways view.
sideways view. So you should think of it as a ramp or something, and you can walk on the ramp like this, right?
Yeah.
This is 37 degree. So technically, gravity is acting vertically downward throughout, right? Vertically downward inside it, right? Like this, while
Yeah.
it is on this journey. So if you think about it, this vertically down, if it was here, right here, gravity was still acting like this, right?
Yeah.
And gravity had two components. One would be G sine 37 like this, and one would be G cos 37 like this, right?
Yeah.
This is 53, this is 37. So sine 37, and this is G sine 37, right?
Yeah.
And now you need to know sine 37 value is 3 by 5, right?
Yeah.
And cos 37 is 4 by 5.
4 by 5.
So this side, it is 3G by 5, okay?
Yeah.
3G by 5, which we can approximate as 6 meters per second square, right?
Yeah.
Now, notice that your gravity downward, this 4G by 5, right? The 8 meters per second square is actually acting vertically downward. It is into the plane, right?
Yeah.
Like on the ramp, like that is your gravity vertically downward in this line, right? Like what I'm saying is, for the particle on the ramp, it's like ground is like this tilted ground, right?
Yeah.
But vertically into the ground, the acceleration is 8, right?
Yeah.
And along this side is 6, right?
Yeah.
You understand the figure and all, no?
Yeah, I did.
So now it is just a simple case. There are two directions and motion. You are giving some 8 meters per second in one direction, right? So this acceleration doesn't affect this part. What it affects is your velocity in this direction, right?
Yeah.
So this part will continue being 8 because there is no friction or anything to stop it, right?
Yeah.
Correct. And this part will increase in speed, right? Due to this
Yeah.
6. So after 1 second, it will be 6, no? After 1 second, you will gain 6 meter per second, no, in this direction.
Yeah.
Because 6 meter per second square is the acceleration, right? So after 1 second, your speed will have two components, one 8 like this, one 6 along the incline, right?
Yeah.
So the net resultant will be 10 meter per second. That will be your answer. Speed.
Yeah, understood.
You understand? So
Yeah.
you just have to figure out what is the acceleration and which direction is it acting. So the g sine 37 is what is acting down the incline, and vertically into the ramp, that acceleration doesn't count. That is just making sure that your normal force is balanced, right? N is equal to mg.
Yeah.
So, and there is no friction and all. So after 1 second, it will just gain this 6 meter per second speed, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Then the next one is in the next figure, right?
The next one is 7, the next picture.
Okay. Particle moving along a parabolic path, y is equal to ax square. This is a parabolic path for a particle. Okay. In such a way that x component of velocity remains constant. Okay. X component of v of velocity remains constant. Okay. So that is like a typical projectile motion, right? And that constant is equal to c, right? Correct.
Yeah.
Acceleration of the particle is being asked. So equation of the projectile path is given, right? So what you can find from this is dy by dx is equal to 2ax, right?
Yeah.
And you can split it like this: dy by dt by dx by dt, right?
Yeah.
Is equal to 2ax. So you can say dy by dt is equal to 2ax into dx by dt, right?
Yeah.
Correct. So now you have gotten vertical velocity vy is equal to 2acx, right? Because this is c, no? Given in the question only, that dx by dt is equal to c.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? This is your vx, no? For the
Yeah.
particle. Okay. So vy is coming as this, and okay, you are asked acceleration of the particle, right? So you are being asked dv by dt, right?
Yeah.
Fine. So okay, dv by dt is equal to acceleration of the particle. Okay, so d by dt of vx I cap plus vy j cap, right? If you take I and j, right? This is
Yeah.
your velocity vector, no?
Yeah.
So acceleration vector will be just dvx by dt plus dvy by dt, right?
Yeah.
Correct. So what is since dx by dt or vx is constant, rate of change of that is 0, right?
Yeah.
Plus dvy by dt. So you have to do d by dt of vy, right? And right now we have found vy this, right?
Yeah.
Let's do dy by dt. So that is 2ac and dx by dt, right? Which is again c.
Yeah.
This is 2ac square, right?
Yeah.
So I'll put that there. So acceleration is coming simply 2ac square, right? 2ac square j. This is your acceleration.
Yeah.
Check.
Okay.
Check once the answer.
Yeah, that's the answer.
So how did we get it? Think about it. You are being asked acceleration. So ultimately acceleration is this, right?
Yeah.
So think of what you need. So you need dvx by dt, which you know is 0 because vx is constant,
Yeah.
right? X component of velocity is constant, so rate of change is 0. So all you need is dvy by dt, right?
Yeah.
And how to find that? So we took the equation, we wrote it as dy by dx is 2ax. Then we split this and wrote it in terms of two separate velocities, right? So
Yeah.
dvy by dt by dx by dt is the same as dy by dx. You have done this type of thing in parametric differentiations in calculus, right? When
Yeah.
when
In
you have
school.
x is equal to something r square and y is equal to something r plus 1, then dx by dr by dy by dr by dx by dr will be your dy by dx, right?
Yeah.
That thing only I'm doing with respect to time. So I got dy by dt as 2ax dx by dt, which is c. So 2acx. And then one more differentiation gives me this answer, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So by definition, think of the definition when you are stuck on something. Then you have to think of, by definition, what does acceleration mean? So I just wrote down the terms, and after that it was obvious what to do, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Nothing else in this figure, right?
No.
Okay. Then the next one is ninth one.
Yeah.
Okay. Position coordinates of a particle moving in a 3D coordinate system is given by x is equal to a cos omega t, y is equal to a sine omega t, and z is equal to a omega t, right?
Yeah.
Speed of the particle. Okay. So actually, speed is being asked. So you know speed is equal to modulus of your velocity vector, right?
Yeah.
So velocity vector would have been what? Vx I cap plus Vy j cap plus Vz k cap, right?
Yeah.
So modulus of any vector is just the magnitude, this thing, right? Right?
Yeah.
This is your speed, right? Correct?
Yeah.
So if you are able to figure out Vx, Vy, Vz, you will be done, right?
Yeah.
So Vx would be what? Derivative of this with respect to time, correct?
Yeah.
So that will be minus a omega sine omega t once I differentiate with respect to time. Vy would be dy by dt, which would be a omega cos omega t after differentiating with respect to time, right?
Yeah.
And Vz would be simply a omega, right?
Yeah.
Correct. So square and add all three, square this, square this, square this. You will get a square omega square. 1, it will become sine square plus cos square,
Yeah.
and plus a square omega square. So it will get root 2a omega, right?
Yeah.
That will be your answer. This is again simple definitions, okay? Why did you not answer this yourself?
I didn't like I did it till the part like I knew
Hmm.
speed is the modulus of velocity.
Hmm.
I just didn't think of differentiating it.
But then how will you find Vx, Vy, Vz?
Yeah, that's why I just left it there.
But you know this, no? This is not something new, right? Like, in the sense that do you not know that speed is, velocity is dr by dt, or
No, I do know that.
so you have x given in terms of times, you just have to do dx by dt vx, no?
Yeah.
I mean, that is just definition. So this means that maybe it is not very clear what is speed and all, then speed velocity definitions, right? Just look through the theory of HCV kinematics chapter. Go through the theory once, just read it once.
Okay.
All of these definitions are there. You will find all of this there. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Next one is okay. The 12th one, right?
Yeah.
The answer is 2r by g. This is a third one is the answer, right? This is a very common question. There
Yeah.
are there actually I did a video today only with this as one of the problems. I didn't know it was JEE 2019. Anyway, it is launched like this. There is a shell that is fired with an initial speed u, and it hits the target at a distance r. There are two possible ways to hit the target. One is like this, one is like this, okay?
Okay.
There are two possible paths basically, okay? One
Yeah.
angle is alpha, let's say, and one angle is beta, let's say. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I want to figure out is, in this one, let's say time is t1, in this one time is t2, right? We have to find t1, t2. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So if range is supposed to be fixed in both the paths, right? Then
Yeah.
we can equate the ranges, no, for both the formulas, right?
Yeah.
Range formula says u square sine 2 theta. So sine 2 alpha by g should be equal to u square sine 2 beta by g, right?
Yeah.
Because u is fixed for both the shots, just angle is changing, right?
Yeah.
So you have this. If sine 2 alpha is equal to sine 2 beta, what are the possibilities then? Obviously, one possibility is 2 alpha is equal to 2 beta, but that is not the physical case here, right?
Yeah.
Angles are not equal here, right?
Yeah.
The other possibility is use the identity sine 180 minus theta is equal to sine theta, right? So we can
Yeah.
write this as 180 minus 2 beta, right?
Yeah.
And say that sine 2 alpha is equal to that, right?
Yeah.
Then we can say 2 alpha is equal to 180 minus 2 beta, right?
Yeah.
So you get alpha plus beta is equal to 90.
Yeah.
So alpha beta are complementary angles now.
Yeah.
Time of flight in the first case, time of flight in this case would be 2u sine beta by g, right?
Yeah.
And time of flight in the second case is 2u sine alpha by g, right?
Yeah.
But sine alpha and cos beta, these are complementary angles, no, no.
Yeah.
Sine alpha is equal to cos beta.
Yeah.
So now t1, t2, if you multiply now this one and this one, you will get 4u square sine beta cos beta by g into g, right?
Yeah.
Take 2u square and that will be one range, right? 2u
Yeah.
square. So you'll get 2r by g. Like 4u square, g square is coming. So g, take g outside, 2 outside, and everything else becomes range formula, right?
Yeah.
2r by g. Basically, the idea is just to realize that this is the possibility, right? This is what happens when, if you want to hit the same range, you can either throw it horizontally, right? Or closer to the horizontal, or you can throw it much higher, right? But
Yeah.
whatever you do, you have like this 30-degree and 60-degree will give the same range basically. Why? You are increasing your x velocity but decreasing time of flight, right?
Yeah.
Here you are increasing time of flight but decreasing your x component of v, right?
Yeah.
So those factors are exactly balancing out in these complementary angle situations, right?
Yeah.
Once you know that, then time of flight expression you can write and multiply t1, t2 to get the answer. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So this is done. Then what else? Tell me.
Yeah. This is all, like, I finished all the exercises and
Hmm.
I just have like 17 questions left in unit exercise. So I don't have any doubts there.
Let's go to momentum then.
Okay.
Momentum in beginners boxes, you will have doubts, no? From the beginning.
Are we doing momentum or circular motion first?
Okay, circular motion. Yeah, circular motion first. I thought it was momentum. For circular motion, you don't understand what is happening, right?
Yeah, I have like issues with the basic derivations also for that.
Okay. Okay, fine. So we'll do basic derivations first. So let's say this is a circle. Okay, not a nice circle. Let's say, 1 second. How do you define motion on a circle? Like that is the first thing to understand. Okay. So like if a particle moves from P to Q, how do you measure motion? You measure it by the idea of angular position, right? Do you understand angular position?
Yeah, the angle theta which will be there.
So this angle theta from the positive x-axis, right?
Yeah.
That angle will describe how far you have gone along, right? So
Yeah.
obviously there is, if you express theta in radians, there is a standard relation that length of this r will be r into theta, right?
Yeah.
L is equal to r theta is a standard relation which is valid for whenever you express theta in radians, right?
Yeah.
That is a very important relation, because what we will do is, as you describe, it will become bigger and bigger, the arc, right?
Yeah.
And since the particle is moving on this path, the distance covered is the distance on the arc, right?
Yeah.
So if you do differentiation of this with respect to time, you will get r into d theta by dt, right?
Yeah.
Since radius is fixed. So this is what? This is distance covered by the particle per unit time, right?
Yeah.
So this is speed of the particle. Speed v is equal to r into rate of change of this angle is called omega, right?
Yeah.
So you'll get the basic equation v is equal to r omega. This connects the speed to the rate of change of angular speed, right?
Yeah.
And if you differentiate it once more, you'll get dv by dt is equal to r into alpha, which is alpha is defined as d omega by dt, right?
Yeah.
So dv by dt is called at. We'll see that a tangential. At is equal to r alpha, v is equal to r omega, and l is equal to r theta. These are obvious things that come when you think of circles, right?
Yeah.
Now, what else is there? Like, let's think about the motion for a minute. If you go like this, your direction of motion is constantly along the tangent, right? And it is changing.
Yeah.
It is along the tangent and it is changing direction every instant, right? So
Yeah.
it is more convenient here to describe, normally y and x is like this, but what we will do is we'll describe a new set of coordinates, which will be r theta. R, ER, and E theta will describe two new axes basically. Like instead of your normal y and x, we will use two new axes. What are these axes? One would be a vector like this. This is your ER vector. And one will be your E theta vector like this, which is perpendicular to the ER vector. Okay. Now, why will we describe these two? Because it exploits the symmetry of the circle. Like the circle is a symmetric figure. It will be useful if your coordinate axis is also taking into account the fact that circle is symmetric. Right now, this y and x doesn't do anything about circle, right? It's has nothing to do with circle symmetry, right?
Yeah.
So your x coordinate and y coordinate will be awkward, and in this case, it will be better. So we'll see why it is happening. But first, what we want to derive is what is your ER vector and what is your E theta vector. I want to find the vector meaning of ER and E theta. So this is my J, this is my I, and let's say you went, this is the point P where you are at right now. So this is my R vector, right?
Yeah.
This is origin. So this is my R vector. And if you want to go at a distance 1 unit in the R vector direction, right?
Yeah.
That will describe your ER unit vector, right?
Yeah.
So if this angle is theta, you can quickly realize that obviously since this is the same line, so you can say 1 unit, this 1 unit I'm writing in a magnified way now, right? So
Yeah.
it is basically 1 cos theta this side and 1 sin theta this side, right?
Yeah.
So this ER unit vector, I can write as cos theta I cap plus sin theta j cap, right?
Yeah.
So this is my definition of your ER vector. Now note that since theta changes, your ER vector will obviously also change because radius vector is changing. No?
Yeah.
So in this position, your cos theta, sin theta are different, right? So ER vector is in this direction, which is different from this direction, right?
Yeah.
So ER is a variable direction vector, and this is the unit vector that we will use, right? Now
Yeah.
let's think of E theta vector. It is 1 unit in this direction, okay? So we have to think of 1 unit in this direction when this angle is theta, right?
Yeah.
this angle is theta and this is 90. Then let's draw the figure a little bit. This horizontal, this is theta, right?
Yeah.
So basically you have
90 plus theta.
this is 90 minus theta here, right?
Yeah.
And this is theta then, right?
Yeah.
So if you go one in this direction and theta with the vertical, right? So you can say that 1 cos theta is this side and 1 sin theta is this side, right? Correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So this 1 unit has 1 cos theta up and 1 sin theta back, right? So E theta, our unit vector, will be written as minus sin theta I cap plus cos theta j cap.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So this is my 2 unit vectors. Keep them in mind and write them down right now. Okay, ER is cos theta I cap sin theta j cap. And understand how it came. I hope you understood how we got it, right?
Yeah.
We have figured out what ER and E theta are in terms of I and J, right?
Yeah.
And note them down in your notebook because we'll be using them now. Soon.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so okay. So now what I want to do is I want to understand if the particle is at this current position, right?
Yeah.
Particle is at this current position. What will I write is position vector of the particle right now? We will say it is the radius r cos theta I cap plus r sin theta j cap, right?
Yeah.
That is the particle's current position vector, right?
Yeah.
Great. So velocity vector will be what? dr by dt, right? By definition.
Yeah.
Right? So we have to differentiate this with respect to time, right? And notice here that your theta is changing with time, by the way, right?
Yeah.
So r is a common, and I have to differentiate this part, right? Cos theta I cap plus sin theta j cap, right? So it will be minus sin theta d theta by dt I cap.
Yeah.
Because cos theta is not a typical cos theta, which is just minus sign, because theta itself can change, right? It's like chain rule, right?
Yeah.
So minus sin theta d theta by dt I cap plus sin theta differentiation will be cos theta d theta by dt j cap, right?
Yeah.
Now take the d theta by dt common outside. V is equal to r d theta by dt, and d theta by dt is called omega, right?
Yeah.
R omega, and what do you get inside? Minus sin theta I cap plus cos theta j cap, right?
Yeah.
And can you notice now that that was your E theta, no? See?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So that proves one thing, that velocity is r omega magnitude and in the direction of E theta.
Yeah.
So that tells you what? E theta was tangential always, no?
Yeah.
And velocity, ER was my radial direction and E theta was my tangential direction, right?
Yeah.
So we get that velocity vector is always tangential, right?
Yeah.
This is coming just by noting that r position of a particle is this vector and differentiating it. Nothing, no physics has been used, right? It's just by maths it is coming, that V is equal to tangential, right? R omega E theta. Correct?
Yeah.
Now the second step now for us would be to differentiate this velocity to get acceleration, right?
Yeah.
So now we need some more space. So I'll just do it properly here. So we have this. Now we have to do dv by acceleration vector is defined as rate of change of velocity vector. But now here we have to be a little careful because multiple things can change here. What are the things that cannot change? Only r. What can change? Omega can change. Actually, you can be increasing the speed of your rotation, right?
Yeah.
And theta can obviously change, right?
Yeah.
So it is a product rule differentiation. Okay. So differentiation will be r common outside, and I will do it by product rule, product of two functions. Okay. So first I will do d omega by dt and write it as it is. Right?
Yeah.
And then I will write the omega as it is and differentiate this part, right?
Yeah.
So that differentiation will be minus cos theta d theta by dt I cap minus sin theta d theta by dt j cap, right?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So this part, notice it's still e theta, right?
Yeah.
Right, it's still e theta. So I'll just write r, this d omega by dt I'll write as alpha, and e theta cap, right?
Yeah.
And plus omega, I'll take one more omega outside here, one more omega, right?
Yeah.
Omega square and minus 1 common, and it is cos theta I cap plus sin theta j cap.
Yeah.
Which is what vector? ER.
Yeah.
So you're getting what? R alpha E theta minus omega square R ER. See, this is your ER, right?
Yeah.
And R and omega square and minus, right?
Yeah.
So this is by definition, acceleration on a circle is coming out to be this.
Yeah.
If the particle is moving on a circle, this is your acceleration component along the tangential, and this is along the radial, right?
Yeah.
And it is a negative ER, right? Negative ER means towards the center. Now
Yeah.
that if you draw a particle like this, you have ER like this and E theta like this, right? And
Yeah.
now we know that acceleration apparently has two components. One component is along this, and that component is R alpha, right?
Yeah.
And one component is along this, and that is omega square R, right?
Yeah.
And remember from the earlier definition, we had seen L is equal to R theta. We saw V is equal to R omega, and we wrote A is equal to R alpha, right?
Yeah.
And we said dV by dt is rate of change of speed here, right?
Yeah.
This A was not the acceleration full A. It was just one component called AT, right? I said earlier that it was AT, right?
Yeah.
The reason I said it is because see here, A has two components, and this component is called the AT component. So A has two components, A tangential in the E theta direction plus A centripetal in the ER direction, negative ER direction, right? Correct? One component is R alpha, which was coming earlier also from here, right?
Yeah.
And the other component is minus omega square R, right?
Yeah.
So that can be written as minus V square by R, because V is equal to R omega. Correct?
Yeah.
So now your resultant acceleration for a particle moving along the circle, my velocity is this direction. AT is equal to R alpha is this direction. AC is centripetal is equal to, either write it as omega square R or write it as V square by R is this direction, right?
Yeah.
So this is your theta angle, let's say, and this is your position vector R, right? Now resultant acceleration will obviously be some random direction A, right?
Yeah.
Resultant acceleration modulus will be root over AC square plus AT square, right?
Yeah.
So that will be V square by R whole square plus R alpha whole square, right?
Yeah.
And direction of resultant acceleration you can also find by taking this direction alpha, right? And
Yeah.
tan alpha will be equal to AC by AT, right?
Yeah.
Because AC is this side and AT is this side. So tan would be perpendicular by base, right?
Yeah.
We can write like this. This is your AC, this is your AT, right?
Yeah.
So that will be AC will be omega square R by this will be R alpha, right?
Yeah.
So technically it is omega square by alpha tan alpha. So no, alpha I should not have used, beta, right?
Yeah.
So your acceleration actually goes in some awkward direction depending on what is this and what is this, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you have a situation which is called uniform circular motion is the situation where alpha is zero. Where alpha is zero. So that means basically d omega by dt is zero or omega is constant. Okay.
Okay.
In that situation, you don't have AT, right?
Yeah.
Your rate of change of angular speed is not there. So you're not changing your rate of angular speed. You don't have AT. You only have omega v square by r towards the center, right?
Yeah.
So no matter how you are moving around a circle, no matter what happens, there is always a centripetal acceleration, right?
Yeah.
There is always centripetal acceleration that is towards the center acceleration, which will be equal to v square by r or omega square r, right?
Yeah.
As long as you are having some velocity on the circle, right?
Yeah.
Acceleration could be more than that, depends on how fast, whether your omega is changing or not, right?
Yeah.
Do you understand everything so far?
Yeah, I
What
do.
we have gotten everything by just writing r position vector and differentiating 2 times, right?
Yeah.
All of this is there in the first 2 pages of HCV circular motion chapter. You should refer to that if you have any doubts. Okay.
Okay.
Now, the whole chapter is basically 1 or 2 more things only. The whole chapter is the idea that who causes this acceleration towards the center, right?
Yeah.
Who causes this acceleration towards the center? If there is an acceleration, there must be some force causing it, right?
Yeah.
So when you are swinging something on a rope like this, if the rope is going in a circle like this with a ball attached, right? Then
Yeah.
obviously at this point you have to say that, okay, at this point, let's say tension is T, let's say gravity is mg, right? Let's say this angle is theta, right?
Yeah.
Then if it is moving with some velocity v here, right, then it is guaranteed that there is an acceleration towards the center of v square by r, right?
Yeah.
Right, even if nothing else, at least this much acceleration has to be there, right?
Yeah.
It could even have a tangential acceleration if your v is changing with time, right? If dy by dt is not equal to 0, right?
Yeah.
But at least this much is there even if v is constant. If v is constant, this is 0, right?
Yeah.
Tangential component. But then what you get here is, if you draw this figure, this is theta, so you get mg cos theta like this and mg sin theta like this, right? Forces.
Yeah.
So along the center line, now you can balance forces and you say T minus mg cos theta must be providing the mv square by r, right?
Yeah.
The net force should be towards the center and equal to mv square by r, right? T minus mg cos theta.
Yeah.
So that is your equation. Now, once this equation is sorted, now you can say the tension is equal to mg cos theta plus mv square by r. So you can predict what will happen to tension. At some point, tension might become 0 when the string will become slack and stuff, right? But
Yeah.
this centripetal direction equation you should be able to write basically, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes if a car is going on a circular track, let's say car is going on a circular track, right? And it is moving with a speed v, right? Now,
Yeah.
apparently there is no force on the car towards this, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't look like there is a force on the car towards this center, right?
Yeah.
But then what must happen, since it is going in a circle of radius r, it has an acceleration of v square by r. So basically the only force that can give it that is friction, right?
Yeah.
So actually it is friction that provides this. So mu mg must be greater than equal to mv square by r, right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise what will happen is the car will not be able to provide the centripetal friction, is not able to provide the centripetal acceleration, means car will just slide off like this. It will go off the track because its circular motion is not able to be sustained, right?
Yeah.
The reason you are able to turn and you are able to keep going in a circle is because some force is pushing you inside, right?
Yeah.
If that force is unable to do that, you just go off along your velocity, right? Your velocity was like this, no?
Yeah.
The reason you have acceleration means you are able to change your velocity direction every instant, right?
Yes.
So this is the condition for friction to be able to support your motion like this. So your mu must be basically greater than equal to v square by rg, or you can say your v square must be smaller than equal to mu gr, right?
Yeah.
So you cannot go too fast. If you go too fast, you will skid along the tangent. You have to go slow when you are going around a circle, because directly there is no force supporting you, in that direction. It's only friction on the tires that can do that, right? So the rest of the chapter is basically about understanding which forces are causing your centripetal acceleration, right? Sometimes there might even be two accelerations. It could be that the car is speeding up, right?
Yeah.
It could be that the car is speeding up and your alpha is not equal to 0, right? Then you even have R alpha this side, right?
Yeah.
So if you have both of those components, then your net acceleration is this side, right? A net, right?
Yeah.
Then your friction must actually be acting this side and giving you some acceleration in this direction, right?
Yeah.
So you could have different situations, but it's all about the concept that we have so far learned. Nothing else is there. Okay, no more than that. So now you can actually go ahead and attempt the things properly. If you have any doubts in this, you should definitely look at HCV, circular motion chapter. Okay.
I will.
So look at it. If you want to ask something right away, you can ask. Otherwise, we can wait for the next class and you can collect some more doubts and come.
I do have a couple questions from the beginner box, like last year when I was attempting.
You can ask. Yeah, tell me.
Yeah, I'll just send them.
Okay. 4 and 5, right?
Yeah.
Okay, fourth one. So particle starts moving along a circle of radius is equal to 20 by pi meter with constant tangential acceleration. AT is constant. Okay.
Yeah.
A tangential is constant. If the speed of the particle is 50 meter per second, speed is equal to 50 meter per second at the end of second revolution, right?
Yeah.
So after it has covered theta is equal to how much? 4 pi, right?
Yeah.
4 pi is covered, right? Then you have to find tangential acceleration. Okay, fine. So constant tangential acceleration is there, right? So distance covered is this. So AT is constant and we know AT is equal to R alpha, right?
Yeah.
So therefore alpha is equal to AT by R, right?
Yeah.
Which is equal to, let's say, AT by R is 20 by pi, right? This is your alpha, right?
Yeah.
And it starts moving from the beginning at 0 and all. No? It starts from 0. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So after you have covered theta is equal to 4 pi, and if your alpha is constant now, right? Because AT is constant, right?
Yeah.
So you can find out your omega at the end, right?
Yeah.
You can find out omega at the end because you have two things and you have equation of motion. So you have V is equal to U plus AT. That doesn't help. V square is equal to U square plus 2AS, right? That one.
Yeah.
So omega final square is equal to omega initial square 0 plus 2 into alpha into theta, right?
Yeah.
So do that calculation. Omega final square will be 2 into alpha, which is 80 into pi by 20 into theta is 4 pi, right?
Yeah.
So omega final is coming out to be, this is 10 and this is 2 by 5. It is coming 2 by 5, 80 into pi square, right? Correct. And root of that, right?
Yeah.
So omega final is equal to pi root of 2 by 5 AT, right?
Yeah.
This is your omega final. So we know speed is given to be 50 meter per second at the end, right?
Yeah.
So speed should be equal to r into omega at the end, right?
Yeah.
So therefore 50 should be equal to 20 by pi into omega final, which is pi root 2 by 5 AT, right?
Yeah.
So this becomes 5 by 2 is equal to root over 2 by 5 AT. So square it. So 25 by 4 is equal to 2 by 5 AT, right? So 125 by 8 is equal to your AT, which becomes 16, 6 and 96, 7 are 112. So 15.5, so 625, something like this. Okay.
Yeah.
You understood how we are getting it?
Yeah.
We
I
are
got it.
using your AT R alpha. So alpha is constant, theta is 4 pi. So you find omega final. Once you know omega final, you do V is equal to R omega speed.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Then the next one is which one? Fifth one.
Yeah.
Okay. Fifth one is saying particle is kept fixed on a turntable rotating horizontally. Okay. Okay. As seen from the ground, the particle goes in a circle. Its speed is 20 and the acceleration is this. The particle is now shifted to a new position to make the radius half. Okay, as seen from the ground. Okay. This seems fairly easy, right? So there is a table. Okay, the table is rotating, particle is fixed here. Fixed. Right?
Mhm.
And you are standing here and looking, right?
Yeah.
Table is rotating with some omega, with some omega, right? Okay, right? So its speed is seen from this person's perspective. Its speed is seen, right?
Yeah.
Speed was 20 centimeter per second, and acceleration was 20
20.
centimeter per second square, right?
Yeah.
And now notice in the question, it's hidden and it says that turntable is rotating uniformly, right?
Yeah.
Uniformly rotating means alpha is 0. Okay.
Yeah.
So if this was your V and this was your A, then you can say V is equal to R omega right now and A is equal to omega square R, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So if I divide both, I'll get omega, no?
Yeah.
Right? Omega square R by omega R is equal to 1, 1, right?
Yeah.
Omega is 1, so R is 20 centimeter right now,
Yeah.
right? Now, the particle is shifted to a new position where radius is 10 centimeter now.
Yeah.
So now R omega will be how much? 10, right?
Yeah.
And omega square R will also be 10,
Yeah. Understood.
right?
Yeah.
So 10, 10, A should be the answer.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
So look at it from this person's perspective. You will notice that this uniformly is a crucial word here, okay? You
Yeah.
understand
And
it
the
was
initial acceleration is 0.
uniform circular motion means alpha is 0 or tangential acceleration is 0. So if that was not the case, it would not have been possible to solve it so quickly, right? Because
Yeah.
then you would know that acceleration could be due to whatever, right? Due to two parts, right?
Yeah.
Then there are too many variables to be able to solve easily, right?
Yeah.
Correct. So
Yeah.
notice the words. And once you know it properly, then you will understand what is going on, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Next one, you have sent something, no?
Yeah. 7th.
Seventh one, okay. Okay, angular, okay, this is again your typical integration, differentiation you are not doing. So if theta is given already like this, right? Theta is given as a function of time, no?
Yeah.
Half alpha t square. Half alpha t square, alpha and omega naught are constants. Then omega naught is given, alpha is given. Angular velocity is just t phi. Angular velocity is just differentiation, no?
Okay, yeah. Yeah,
So
I'll
it is
do
just
it.
omega naught plus half alpha into 2t, right? So
Yeah,
it is omega naught plus alpha t. Now put the values. Omega naught is 1, alpha is 1.5, and t is 2, right?
yeah.
So the answer is 4. 4 radian per second. This is obvious. This is just you not knowing that differentiation can be done.
Yeah, understood.
Read the theory once. Read circular motion from HCV now once. Once
I
you
will.
read it, you will be able to get all of these questions easily.
Okay.
If you have anything more, you can ask. Otherwise, just collect all your doubts from the previous chapter also, the 17 that are left, and
Yeah.
circular motion also. We'll do it in the next class.
Okay.
Okay. That's all then. I'll see you.
Thank you.
Bye.